Welcome to The Politics People. My guest today is a comedy legend. He's written, produced, directed some of the most revered shows to come out of the UK. He's the creator of Black Books, The IT Crowd, and of course, Father Ted. He's currently banned from Twitter for sharing his views on the transgender debate. I'm talking to Graham Linehan. Thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you for having me. How's it going?
Very, very well. Did I get anything? I didn't get anything wrong on the intro, did I?
No, that's about the size of it. I'm banned from Twitter, but they've never actually told me why. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be factually correct.
Well, they say it's because I was misusing the platform, and I think what they meant was, I don't know if you remember, but at one point when women were fighting this fight about 4 years ago, a word kind of, or a catchphrase kind of caught on, which was "Okay, boomer,"
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It was said to anyone over the age of 30, "Okay, boomer." Yeah. And I started getting sick of it. So I texted back, "Okay, groomer," because I do see a lot of trans ideology as a form of grooming. And also these people were saying that, I didn't feel anyone who said, "Okay, boomer" to a woman, old enough to be their mother, deserved any kind of respect. So I just kind of sent it back. So what they did was they found out all the times I'd said it in replies to people and mass reported it. So I think the only thing they said I was taken off for was misusing the platform. And I think they took the repetition of "Okay, groomer" as me spamming. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm only kind of assuming because they won't tell me.
You can't be sure exactly what crime you've committed, but that is the true Kafkaesque nature of this. It's very non-specific. Although we can guess it's something in that area, but
I think they were just looking for an excuse. I think anything. The thing I really did wrong was I was speaking about it at all. This was at a time when no debate was still, the default position. And so anyone who spoke up or anyone who addressed it in any way was a target. So it was just a matter of time before they took me down.
The thing is, you've got your fabulous channel and you've got other outlets, and the debate is, it's not really a debate anymore, is it? It's kind of, we're all on sort of polarized sides now. I think the sides are pretty much established. I'm really interested in you, obviously, just because, you truly are a proper comedy hero of mine. But the price you've paid, I wanted to get into that, basically, the impact on you and the pound, shillings and pence kind of effect that even getting involved in this debate or even expressing an opinion has had on you. Because I don't think too many people really understand that this is not about simply expressing views. The cancelled is bandied around a lot, but you actually are and have a hugely established business empire before getting into this debate. I mean, you're massive. You're fucking, you are massive in media, and you have seemingly, to me, knowingly jeopardized this at every stage.
Yeah.
Being prepared to, well, you're not, again, I don't put words in your mouth, but you seem to be acting out of principle, and principle is bigger than anything for you. But anyway, I just wanted to get into exactly what is the cost so far, and do you think it's been worth it?
Oh God, nothing is worth losing your family over, but at the same time, if there was going to be an issue, I had to do it, then this would have been it. Like if we can go back a little bit to what you were saying when you said it's a very polarized debate, it really isn't. It's basically a debate between people who of various different political stripes, all of whom believe that sex and sex-based rights are important. That's not like a polarized position. That's the position that most people would actually say they're probably on. But the problem is that the other side of the debate, the women trying to hold this debate, the so-called TERFs, they have been demonized so successfully without any evidence, in the same way that has happened to me, that the very mention of their name, just as the very mention of my name, sends a chill running down the spine of anyone who's going to finance my work. So the thing is, I'm not prepared to apologize because I've not done anything wrong. I've uncovered facts about Stonewall, about Amy Challoner, about very, very important aspects of safeguarding that are being kind of chipped away at. And I've done so at a time when it's like, very, very difficult to do so. So my thing is like, eventually people will see, they have to, that some of this stuff, the way women are being treated, the way someone like Kathleen Stock has been treated, the way someone like, my friend who's a children's writer who wrote a beautiful book called My Body Is Me, almost had her career destroyed by fellow authors for writing a beautiful book about trying to stop dysphoria in children. So that's where we are. We have one group of people who are encouraging and promoting dysphoria, and we have another who are trying to stop it, who are trying to slow it down, who are trying to talk about the social contagion element of it. And, the fact that piggybacking, I mean, there's, don't get me wrong, I think there's a lot of good people on the other side in this debate, but unfortunately, piggybacking on their goodwill are a number of very dodgy men.
Oh yeah.
And, go on.
No, sorry, that was just the sound of me agreeing with you. Yeah, it'll happen these days.
So it's like, so basically what these dodgy men, and I guess this is the kind of show where I can talk about this, but one example is the person who sued me twice. His name is Stephanie Hayden. He's been known under various aliases down through his life: Stephen, Tony, Stephen spelled differently, and now Stephanie, and he spends all his time suing people, bringing them to court, and then having the whole thing thrown out after a while when it's revealed to be built on sand. His other thing that he does is he starts these actions against you, and then he charges you some money to stop them. Right? That's who we're talking about. This is the same man. A woman, Kate Scottow, saw the inside of a police cell because of this man. Why isn't that man in the police cell? He's running up. I believe the taxpayer is paying for his actions against women. So these are people who, like, they may be trans, they may not, but they're not good people. And someone like, and we should be exposing them just as we expose anyone else in the world who does bad things. I don't know whether you've ever seen the joke on Family Guy where there's a woman at the bar looking at her phone. Do you know this one?
I think so.
Yeah, the guy says, sorry, ma'am, no porn at the bar. And she says, oh, it's okay, I'm transgender. And he goes, oh, do everything you want always, something like that. And it is true. There are people, like, I'll give you two examples of things that happened today that shows that these trans-identified men are using their trans status to attack women in a way that other men would never dare attack women. India Willoughby said of Penny Mordaunt that she was she said she wanted to ask Mordaunt's brother about how she's being a mean bitch to trans people. A mean bitch. Imagine any man saying that. And then and then Paris Lees was on a BBC News program, and there was a black woman on it. I don't know if she's a politician or what, but Paris Lees is just screaming over her. It's amazing. Can you imagine a man? It is. And it's like, the things that women used to be quite happy to share with transsexuals, they're running the risk of, women are running out of patience with all this stuff. I think more and more are waking up to what's going on. But it's like, you can't just have a trans identity and then do anything you want.
It's extraordinary. No,
it really is.
You're from the comedy world, and the comedy world, exactly that you're citing things like Family Guy as being, these are important canonical works, I think, because they're all pointing out the absurdity. you can't help pointing out the absurdity if you're from if you do what you do for a living. It's like Tourette's. You have to say this stuff out loud, and I just think that that's what's carried through, and that's what I see with your immersion in this debate. It's just like you will you will not comply.
That's very kind of you to say, and yeah, exactly. I mean, it's too ridiculous. It's too ridiculous. There was a like, I believe the guy was a Trump supporter, so it's not the best person to maybe to have this moment. But there was
well, it is. I'll be honest. I'm a massive Trump supporter, so he's already on one of my team. But anyway,
but this senator basically said, you know, he was asked, I think, do you believe that men can have children? And he said no. And she said, you're being transphobic. You're denying the
one the other day. Yeah. At the Senate hearing, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
now I personally think Trump was a bit sketchy, but I think that this is just equally as sketchy and as mad, you know. And I think personally,
I'm assuming sketchy is some sort of Irish slang for heroic. Is that?
No, I mean, but he was always lying. He never knew what lie he was telling, and it was.
Who cares?
I know why people like it, but I don't agree.
Basic principles. I'm just like, if you go back to first positions and just go, okay, that's a man, that's a woman, this is a country, that's a border. I think after that you can lie away, but
but if the police finally came to arrest Trump, I guarantee you he'd take on a trans identity. I guarantee you that would be his last move. Because these, but it's true, because someone like Hayden is like a mini Trump. They've kind of learned the lessons of the Trump years, okay? And I am going to actually compliment him here for a second. You'll understand when I'm finished. But one thing that Trump did brilliantly that I think is going to be manipulated and used, and indeed already is he used Twitter to weirdly escape scrutiny. So he would go on Twitter, he would frame the argument and get out before anyone had asked him any questions. And when people replied as, "Oh, you son of a bitch," or whatever, he'd never respond to any of them, you know? So everyone is like this now. You know, if you like Colm O'Gorman tried to get away with something yesterday. Colm O'Gorman is the head of Amnesty Ireland, right? As woke as they come. And Colm O'Gorman had the temerity to say, of course it's ridiculous to erase the word women. No one's asking that, right? And on the day that the abortion ban that the abortion referendum was won by pro-abortion activists, of which I was one, on the day they won that in Ireland, Amnesty Ireland tweeted, a huge victory for pregnant people.
Yeah.
You know? So the brass neck of these people, and they all use the same thing. They will tell a lie just like that one, and then they just don't take any more questions. You know? So all these people they have studied at the altar of Trump, even though they would say they're anti-Trump.
It's very interesting. It's interesting. Yeah. I'm not persuaded, but I just love hearing you talk. But did you ever see that Twilight Zone, the dinosaur lunch episode? It's like one of the originals. It's a fascinating. You can just Google it, but it's basically a guy. It's talking to his wife, and then she's about to, you've got to take Timmy to his class or he's going to miss his dinosaur, and it's just like, what? And it's just like he's going to miss his. And then he goes to the office, and people go, "Hey, do you want to come and meet us for dinosaur?" And then basically the word lunch has been replaced with dinosaur. And that's an original
Twilight Zone. That's brilliant.
It's brilliant. And it just all the way through the episode, and then words, and in the end he just submits. By the end of the episode, he is just reading his daughter this kind of gobbledygook, and it's just the words escalate, and his wife is basically, so he resists and resists and resists, and eventually, and it's as for me it's as powerful as Room 101 with the 5 fingers or 6 fingers thing. It's amazing that it's not one of the more famous
ones.
But check it out.
I would love to see it. Yeah, I'm going to share that with my
it's really cool.
You know, and you're so right, because it's like it's so topical, because that's what we have now. We have stuff that's getting into things like the Oxford English Dictionary, like the word cis, right? Which most rational people do not divide the world between cis and trans. They divide the world between gay and straight and male and female. But cis and trans is meaningless to people like me who don't believe in gender identity. But it's still in the dictionary as if everyone just agreed to this, and they haven't. What's happened is, for the first time, like the dinosaur lunchers, the people have actually been able to organize along ideological lines and push a kind of message consistency that would be the envy of Fox News. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's like, again, this is what I'm kind of, this is why I think it's an interesting subject to talk to.
Why do you have to have a go at Fox News? I like Fox News.
No, I know you don't. I know you don't. But I know you do. But don't necessarily, like, my thoughts on everything are suddenly very complicated, right? Because when you see scientists lying about sex and journalists that you used to admire lying about biology, then it really undermines everything you've believed up until that point. I was a card-carrying lefty, right? Yeah. I was like, on nearly everything, and I took great delight in making fun of right-wingers, because I thought right-wingers were a solid block of people who hated everyone so much that they wanted the world to be destroyed by climate change, right? That was how I saw people. It was like a kind of reading of the world as between good and evil. And it was, I'm sure you've read the brilliant book, The Coddling of the American Mind. Yeah. But it was also the kind of catastrophizing language that was being used by people online. I was buying into all of it, And so now, I don't know. I know people,
and that's very appealing. I mean, if you're a good human, it's very appealing when more clues have come about to show that there's more evil. It's like the very fact that it gives you that kind of endorphin rush when you feel like you're being virtuous, literally you're able to do good. If we've introduced here's another fact, and again, climate change is a great example of this. It is that thing of, as we have secularized, we haven't actually gotten rid of religion. We've actually just replaced it with other religions, and it gives you the same endorphin rush.
Yeah, well, I certainly get the same endorphin rush opposing this religion as I did writing Father Ted. I mean, for me, it's like a battle against evil. I think this is an evil movement. I think in the end, when the amounts of detransitioners come in, when the what I call the butcher's bill is finally paid, then people are going to pretend they're good. You're going to see a lot of people wiping their Twitter histories. I mean, completely. It really, so for me, like, anything I could do to bring this movement to an end faster is worth doing. But the thing is, like, I want to make it clear, and as always, you can say this till the cows come home, but people deliberately don't believe you, and they deliberately reframe what you're saying. But my argument is not with anyone who calls himself trans or is trans, is an actual transsexual. My argument is with the ideology that is suddenly telling women that they don't deserve single-sex spaces. Sometimes I'm walking along, I see a trans person, and they kind of, I'll either get a nod or they'll kind of put their head down.
This is so rude, and I almost kind of I don't want to stop you saying. I don't even like entertaining the apology for that. I don't even need you to qualify. This is the absurdity when you start saying, look, I'm not even saying it is good and evil. There are the machinery of the state is now used against individuals. That's the end of it for me. I don't even care what the argument is. Every state decision is ultimately enforced at the point of a gun. So, I don't even want to see somebody like you, frankly, kind of have to say, look, I'm not against this. No.
But I'm saying it for a very specific reason, because there's another element to this that you may or may not be fully aware of, but basically, one of the other evil, and I know earlier I was talking about you shouldn't divide things that way, but I do think an ideology can be evil if it produces evil results. And but the thing one of the things that's particularly nasty about this is that you have magazines like Pink News that has run over 75 pieces about me, calling me transphobic, you know. Meanwhile, you have people feeding lines to each other like TERFs don't want trans people to live. Yeah. Meanwhile, you have phrases going around like there's a trans Holocaust, right? Yeah. All this, none of the, like trans people in the UK, for instance, are the safest, trans women are actually the safest demographic in the UK, you know? And there have been 0 murders of trans women in the last couple of years. But like still these strange internet formed kind of rumors, kind of factoids, again, sort of, what did they call it? Truthiness, they used to call it, you know? It's not actually true, but it has a truthiness that everyone can kind of...
That's good, I like that.
Yeah, because they've heard it from other people, and they've heard it from other people, and they trusted that person, so that person must be right. But there's no trans Holocaust. There's nothing of the sort going on. This is all based on a kind of a threat that they've been, again, another evil aspect to this ideology, but a threat they've been using for years, which is if you don't do what we say, trans people will kill themselves. You know, it's behind nearly everything they ask for. You know.
Oh, it's Violet. What was Violet Elizabeth? Coercion. Isn't it? I'll scream and scream and scream until I'm sick. You know. It's just like yeah.
It's coercion, and what's frightening is that a lot of people don't even know what's happening. It's crazy.
No, my only point was I don't think it helps. And I talk to people, you know, from the left as well, quite happily. I don't care. I just feel uncomfortable with you having even to justify.
No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Like, but I really am only talking about, you know, to get that vulnerable section of society and tell them that, for instance, J.K. Rowling hates you and wants you to disappear. That's a disgusting thing to say to people. I'm only apologizing to tee up another complaint I have with the whole fucking thing. They're just constantly saying that people like me and J.K. Rowling want them dead. Do they have any idea of the effect that might have on vulnerable minds? You know, it's absolutely outrageous. Sorry, I'm kind of looking at you weirdly, so I'm gonna have to just
I get that all the time.
I'm looking off to the right, and I shouldn't be.
Yeah, no, it's well, I do all the time. That's my life, is looking off to the right. It's but look what it's done for me. But so when you first sort of, because there are ranks, when you first posited this stuff a few years back, when you actually sort of stuck your head above the parapet, did any part of you think, did you even expect to get the pushback that you have, the criticism, the bile that you've been in receipt of? It must have come as something of a shock, because you do come from a background where everybody takes the piss all the time and everybody is pointing out the absurdity. Indeed, you're quoting Family Guy. You've never said anything as bad as that thing that went out on mainstream TV in the United States, you know?
Like the episode of the IT Crowd that Channel 4 banned. That's like a kind of what you might call, I don't know what the word would be, a touchstone episode. It's the one with the internet in a box, which everybody who likes the IT Crowd will, you know, loves. They took that one off the air because the subplot was about Matt Berry falling in love with a...
that's right. He's in bed with...
Yeah. And we had a terrible joke that he mishears her and thought she was saying she was from Iran when she was...
That's right, yeah.
It's a terrible joke. Doesn't work. But the rest of the show is great. but like, you know, the whole episode as well then ends with Matt like sitting alone in his bedroom after he had this huge fight with his girlfriend and crying about it, you know. But none of this matters because, you know, I didn't do what I was supposed to do, which is I was supposed to kind of get on my hands and knees and just you know, prostrate myself in front of them. You know,
no, it's very Larry. It's very Larry David to me. It's very kind of
Well, I share with him. I think you can't really. You're not. You know, I don't really like it when people insult my shows. Like for instance, another person I need to apologize to because I was very mean to him was Toby Young.
He's a good guy. We like Toby.
I'm delighted that he set up the Free Speech Union, and I think that's really good of him. But but the thing is, what was I going to say? I forget what I was going to say about him. But yeah, I just kind of used to kind of. Oh shit! No, it's
probably it's almost worse than criticizing him. If you're gonna you know what I'm saying now is now you can't even think of us. You can't even struggle for a good thing to say about him.
No, it was.
You're a writer. You're literally one of the world's most successful writers.
You will cut this, right? There was something I was going to say.
I'm leading with this. This is the only clip I'm. What are you talking about? It's just I should apologize to Toby Young.
Sometimes I just lose the run of myself. I'm kind of, but yeah, Toby Young. I mean, I don't really care about any of that stuff anymore. I don't care who is hanging around with who. I think I've been adding my shoulder to the conservative thing about, I think basically anyone but Penny Mordaunt is. I hope it's Kemi, to be honest.
Because it'd be great if it was Kemi, wouldn't it? Oh, that would just be hilarious.
If it's Kemi,
more than anything.
If I was Keir Starmer and I heard that Kemi had won, I wouldn't even wait to go to the House of Commons. I'd just quit, because he's never going to look good against her. Never. And also she's gender critical. So she can really badly wound the Labour on that point. Labour have been useless on that point. And she can really badly wound not just Labour, but the Lib Dems,
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Oh, she's kryptonite for most of
the. I'm surprised there's even a discussion going on in conservative circles and stuff.
I know.
She's the first conservative I would definitely consider voting for, because at the moment I'm a single issue voter, and I would vote.
Yeah. No, exactly. Well, look, I've definitely jumped around. I've been a member of the Tory Party. I used to they got me into write for them once, the Tory Party. That didn't go well, but no, I definitely left them to do, obviously, I had to leave. I didn't join UKIP, but you had to vote UKIP and all that kind of stuff, and then the reform, the Brexit Party and stuff. But sure. the Conservative Party, but the point is, every single one of these disparate groups, they're all just former Conservatives. And that's the thing. It is that classic, no, I didn't leave the Conservative Party, it left me. And that's what's happened to a lot of people in Labour.
Right. So, but sorry, what do you mean when you say that about conservatives? Oh, I see, the UKIP and all those groups. Right. Yeah. It's the same thing. Basically, we all stood still, and the Labour Party went so far to the left that they were calling the women of Mumsnet fascists.
There you go. Exactly. It's a class thing for me. It's literally just who is on the side of the working class is all I give a rat's about in Britain. And it's so interesting to see John Lydon saying that, pointing out that now the radical, subversive, the anti-establishment are on the right.
Well, when you see the I don't know whether you saw that recent study that found that, college entrants or college kids were increastingly saying that you shouldn't teach things that might offend people and all that sort of stuff. It was a very depressing state of the nation in terms of young people. And I really think that we have to start having a serious conversation about the effect of the internet on these kids.
It's true.
These kids are coming out of their childhoods very vulnerable. And they feel that, when they feel that like a joke like my IT Crowd episode is simply too much for them to bear, then they're going to have a really hard time in life, and I worry about
completely.
Them,
Well, look, the good news, I'm ever the optimist on all this. It's not even debatable. It's like I keep saying to people, look, the Soviet Union had 69 years, about 3-4 generations of people. They had no advertising, no commercialism, no capitalism or anything. And still, about 2 years after it finished, is like Lamborghinis and Porsche dealerships and stuff. You can never hold back that human nature aspect of it. So this might work right now, but it's inevitable. But
the thing about it is, I think that, like, I would agree to you up to a point, but I think that what you're saying now is an unholy alliance between the left and I would say not so much the right, but the kind of what you might call the underpinnings of capitalist society, corporations. right? So who loves the trans issue more than anyone? Corporations, you
Absolutely.
know? They put rainbow flags on the side of their building and they ship arms to wherever and no one cares. And it's like this terrible, terrible thing where capitalism is growing up, but it's pretending to be, it's like, it's putting like clown makeup on.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But it's, all I'm saying is, I'm just saying it's not sustainable. I mean, Milton Friedman was always saying that the Soviet Union was a capitalist country. It's just the capital was only held by these people, and it's just like, you know, I agree with you. I think it's good and evil at the moment, and I think we're in a genuine war. However, I do think that human nature in a generation just doesn't. There is no way kids born today are going to buy this in 20 years. I just don't think so.
Oh no, I don't think so. It'll be like the hippie movement.
Yeah, exactly. Part of the appeal of this is that actually this feels people can immediately ascribe some virtue to themselves. They can take on a status, they can take on an identity, they can kick back at whatever they view as this is teen rebellion, but by 45-year-old men in skirts. I mean, it is pushing back against a perceived notion of the authority figure. It can't last. That's the thing. It's going to flame out. It has to.
Well, I'd say the other reason it can't last is because, you know, there's so much extra scrutiny on it now that it's hard. The only way they were able to get a lot of this stuff through was in the dark. Like, for instance, there was never, like, you think about what a social kind of shift it is to have self-ID in Ireland. Which it does. And just the other day, there was a photograph of a bloke who just looked like a trucker, just kind of washing up his hands in the women's toilets. No, not someone. I'm not making fun of a trans person. I'm saying he looked like a fucking trucker. He wasn't wearing his trans. It was just a bloke, right? And he had the confidence to walk into that toilet in Dublin Airport. And that's why, because a very, very big shift was snuck through because Irish people weren't allowed. Irish people were never allowed to talk about it, you know. Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I'm just wrapping.
No, but this is how it's done. I was just going to ask you. So, you know, when you did stick your head above the parapet, and were you surprised? Because again, I don't see.
Oh yeah, that was your original
support.
Question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't. I knew.
Let me rephrase. Let me actually phrase it, because we're just assuming. I'm saying specifically to you, when you stuck your head above the parapet, were you surprised at the pushback and also the lack of support from people that you kind of made rich, basically, along the way?
I from the former, no, I wasn't surprised. In fact, I was prepared for it. I had a payout from a cancer operation that meant I thought I could sit on that money for a while and it would stop them from coming after my livelihood, which I knew was what they like to do.
Wow.
So yeah, but then COVID happened, and so the world got suspended and the money kept running out, and no one spoke up. No one's, you know, it would have been easy for one of my colleagues to say, I know Graham Linehan and he's not a bigot, you know. Yeah. But like no one, everyone just either pretended they couldn't see it or they actually couldn't see it. And I've been hanging in the wind now for 5 years. Not a single, like the only person who turned up was J.K. Rowling, you know, and actually, you know, something I'll always be guilty about. James Dreyfus, who you might remember from the comedy Gimme, Gimme, Gimme.
Of course, yeah.
One of the first gay characters in a sitcom where they had the guts to make him unlikable. You know,
right.
A real kind of big, yeah. And he was cancelled because he signed a letter. He signed a letter asking Stonewall to bring down the toxicity of the debate. And now he's had very little work over the last 5 years.
Horrible, isn't it? It's absolutely horrible.
And it's based on us asking for a less toxic debate. These people are monsters, you know, and they really have to be stopped, you know. And by stopped, I mean, you know, we need to start having the arguments. And once the arguments get out there, then people won't be able to dismiss them. Paris Lees today, when she was shouting over that woman, it was because, you know, he knew the jig was up. He's been pretending for the last few years that it's very important that young people have double mastectomies and go on puberty blockers as soon as they ask. and it's all bullshit, and it's all falling apart, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's unsustainable. Have you had private support from anybody? Have you had anybody that says, look, please keep my name out of it, but
Yeah,
I
that's
agree
like,
with you?
yeah, no, that happens. There's a very funny Private Eye cartoon recently where it had a woman being tied to the stake, and the guy with the mask on has got like a torch, and he's putting it to the wood, and he says, "Just to say, I agree with you." You know.
Oh, that's good.
So I've kind of come to see a few things. Like, there's some people I don't mind, right? Because some actors are very vulnerable and they do have to be careful, you know. So there's some people I don't mind when they give me up. But there's other people, especially those who've kind of developed a brand based around satire or telling the truth or comedy, whatever it happens to be. They're the ones that really surprise me. Because not just that they came from me and they didn't say anything, but that they're really coming for comedy, you know.
Yeah.
When they attack someone like Dave Chappelle, that's what they're doing. They're coming for comedy, you know. And these people are not fucking fighting it. They're just kind of standing on the sidelines and sometimes even cheering it on, you know. I find those people despicable. Stuart Lee.
Oh, there's a lot to despise. There really are a lot of very despicable actors in the sense of the word of behavior, not the actual profession. But no, there's a lot to despise, and it's been a real opportunity to witness humanity, because there are people that are actively virtue signaling and who are allowing bullying and tyranny to take place. I mean, it's extraordinary. Like I said, I've always been a conservative, I've always been horribly right wing, etc., etc. But the idea that I've never come across anybody on my side ever, and this is my whole life, of wanting to shut down anybody else. They always like welcoming platforming people, you know. That's where it started for me. That was the first sort of canary in the coal mine. It was just called deplatforming like 20 years ago. And that was coming from the left, you know. And that was... And that's where I saw the sort of the habit begin, that was actually a strategy. It's like, actually, no, you don't even have to debate the issues anymore.
Yeah. Like, none of these people would ever be able to debate their corner. They'd never be.
They can't debate their corner. And this is why I'm so anti the BBC and so anti the license fee.
BBC
anyway,
is disgraceful at the moment. I'm sickened that I have to pay for the BBC, telling kids that there's more than 150 genders and stuff like that. That's grooming.
The fact that you can get cancelled, the fact that you can get cancelled from an interview, there will be people, and again, I believe I've heard this about you, but I know a lot of people in this area and these various places that they can't get a guest on because they will not share a platform with somebody, you know. Now, the BBC,
that was a device also used to make sure that there were no debates, literally. So what they would do is Helen Joyce would agree to be on, so would India Willoughby or someone, and then just before she went on, they would say, "Oh no, I can't do it with that person," and the whole section would be taken down, because this movement hates scrutiny, hates
absolutely. But the very fact that the BBC will comply with that, is
the BBC
and you are forced to pay for that.
Yes,
I mean, it's a poll tax on housing.
I never understood that argument until I started disagreeing with what the BBC were ideologically pushing on me, and now I see it very clearly. I still think that the BBC could and should be a jewel in England's crown. I think it has often risen to that, but at the moment, I think it's deeply corrupted by gender ideology. The fact that someone said there's a cabal of people at the top of BBC News who are pushing this stuff, why isn't that a much bigger scandal than it is?
Absolutely.
We're both on the same page. We do not want to pay for that. I don't want to pay for that. I don't.
Because every single thing is ultimately at the point of a gun. That's my issue with it. It's like, if you don't pay that license fee, ultimately you can be taken to court, you can go to prison, and there will be armed officers. Even in the UK, at some point, it is at the point of a gun. The state power again. It's not the same as, I don't want to read the Daily Mail anymore. And it's like, okay, you don't have to read the Daily Mail. It's like, no, but you'll still be paid for it. You'll be paying for it even if you change newspapers.
Toy with this one for a while, right? As you know, a lot of charges, maybe not convictions, but charges for license fee evasion is what lands a lot of women in prison. or not, sorry, it doesn't land women in prison, it lands women in trouble, but
Trouble.
prison is, if you do it enough, prison is the final thing in your final destination you could possibly make, right? And these women are going to prisons that effectively have self-ID. So they could have someone like Rachel White placed into that prison with them. Yeah. So this is the BBC BBC with a threat of rape in prison, telling you to pay your license fee.
And this is Rachel White who raped 2 female prisoners with her penis.
Yes, exactly. And like I always thought, if you're talking about people who are at the very bottom of society, imagine how those women felt when Rachel White was delivered into their midst by men in uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and that's happening now, and it's happening.
And that's happening now. And the thing is, for me, the state is supposed to be a referee. It is not supposed to be on the pitch. And that's and you're absolutely right. The BBC has given over to an ideology. I so believe in the free market. I don't even think that the license fee should have been allowed in the first place. But as it had been, there should be at least a mechanism where it is still market forces driving it and responding to it, because the market says that the majority of the UK do not subscribe to these views. They do not want these represented.
But I'm not sure that, I mean, would you say that the free market is reflected in something like Netflix at the moment? Yeah, because I'm finding Netflix a bit like, I find it very rare that I find something good to watch on Netflix, Yeah,
but you see, because the free market is what the free market's done with Netflix. Netflix was the first to market, sorry to interrupt. What I find really interesting is their business model was just like, hey, we won't make anything. We'll just take everybody else's titles. They were the pioneers, and then Disney has come back in and gone like, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll buy up all the IPs. And because all Netflix is a big hard drive, that's all it is. And it's so people don't go to Netflix because they're loyal to Netflix. They go because of an IP. And it used to be Disney used to be on there. Star Wars used to be on there. Then Disney bought up Star Wars, takes all their titles off Netflix and puts it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, sure. I guess I don't know. I guess I just find that, it's a whole other conversation about what capitalism does to art. You know what I mean? I mean,
the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah. Or you look at things like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was so, for most of its series, was just impeccable. Just one of the greatest things that's ever been on television. And you do wonder, oh, is it possible that the BBC will ever make a show like that? But at the moment, you see, the thing is, that was never the BBC's strength. The BBC's strength was always in things like Dennis Potter and what would you call them? You might call them, oh Jesus, I'm not sure what the word is, but a very valuable piece of programming that everybody watches, And they had Dennis Potter almost as a pet playwright there for years.
Totally. He was like the house playwright, it's true.
Yeah. And he was producing such dark and rough stuff that was sometimes very difficult to get through, You really went on a journey with him. And through all this, we were all kind of experiencing art in a way that I don't think we do now, because we don't go, right, where's the most depressing Dennis Potter thing I could watch? And there's no feeling, but with the BBC, there's no feeling of, oh, well, that's what we're good at. We're good at getting exciting writers, giving them a bit of money and letting them take risks, right?
Well, look at what Channel 4's original mandate was, which should be, and what in effect, that time in the 70s and 80s when the BBC was, definitely the play for the days and the Dennis Potters and stuff. You see, even in the free market, there's a model for something like the BBC. Nobody's against that. You use democracy, etc. But the point was, and I think that's what you're alluding to, was the BBC should be doing the stuff that can't be done by the commercial space.
Yes,
fine.
Yes, great.
And that's absolutely fine. That's not what it's doing. It's competing in the commercial space, but with an ideology above its main remit. And that's what gets me about it. It's just like, it's the old gambling thing. When you say
ideology, though, we're talking about different things, aren't we? Because you're talking about the kind of public service ideology.
Well, I wasn't even. I was being much more shallow than that. I was thinking, just even in this trans debate, it's not having a debate at all. It is. Look, I've been in BBC meetings just before I left. I left the UK in 2007. I was doing shows until about 2006. I had a few things, but they were no, they've never troubled the viewer. But
Mm.
but I remember being in meetings where it would be like, oh, the science is settled. You know, things like I remember the climate change coming up at some big heads of department meeting. It was like the science is settled. And it's like, well, it's not though, is it? I mean, there's still people debating this. You know, it's like, no, this is a, and
but it was always framed as a very. I think in that case it was very polarized in that it was framed as it's not happening, it's happening. You know, where
that's right.
And I think one of the great things we've had recently is, you know, shows like yours and Joe Rogan as well, who I know is much more centrist, but like people who are willing to get people on and talk to them about what we know to be true and what's contested and, you know, what the situation is. I just ignored, for instance, the COVID thing because I just thought nothing I can do about it, and I've got my own shit going on.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, the more when you hear a careful discussion of these issues by scientists and by people like Brett Weinstein and stuff like that, you just come out brighter than you went in. You may not know all the answers, but you come out smarter. BBC has given that up. It's just
well, that's the point, you know, that's the thing. And it's just like, that's why I don't want you sort of qualifying your beliefs or apologizing for them or sort of like, because all that used to happen for people, I'm a couple of years older than you, I think, but I grew up with like lots of shows from Sunday morning, you know, till, you know, the evening on the BBC. And there was only like two BBC channels at the time. And they would just be guys and women, whatever, but just talking about nuanced debates. You know, you would have people openly having debates about, you know, practically existentialism and socialism and communism all at the same time. And
there used to be, it was great.
And that was in and of itself the point. I'm very frustrated with the idea of any part of that's my whole shtick for my right wingness is just anti the state. I just don't trust anybody to have unaccountable power over an individual. I think you have to put the individual first, and then it's like Sisyphus for the rest of eternity. You're constantly trying to make that work, but that should be your principle. You know, the very fact that anybody's just gone, yeah, no, that's all. That's it now. History's stopped now. That's the answer. And at the point of a gun, we're going to tell you to comply. I just think that's never worked. Or it's never worked without a war at the end of it, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Well, you know, I don't like, as I say, I've been so knee deep in this stuff that I don't really have many opinions outside of that at the moment. But I will say again that everything.
You're living it, though. That's the thing. You're living it. That's what I find fascinating with what you've done. Is that this is not some theory. You're not writing some. You're not staying within the belly of the beast and then writing some arch satirical treatise on the whole matter. You're actually kind of going like, yeah, nah, black is black, white is white. Sorry, can't.
Yeah. The trick is to try and make that funny, which is really hard, but I'm doing my best. You know, we did a good thing on Penny Mordaunt the other day, which was called "What Are Mice," based on her "What Is a Woman" statement, where she revealed that she used to say that mice didn't exist and were just in fairy tales, but she's come to know they really. But anyway, I mean, like, it's hard to be funny though, man, because it's there's going to be so much wreckage from these years, in the form of both physical pain and the mental anguish that these kids will go through. And also a lot of these kids are going to have to kind of come to terms, as we all will, with the fact that adults lied to them for years.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, do you think there's going to have to be some kind of truth and reconciliation hearings after this?
I've often talked about it. I think there's going to have to be, definitely. And Maya Forstater was the one who introduced that concept, and I think it's absolutely true, because it's one thing to say I disagree with your opinion on, for instance, the book Rachel Rooney wrote about called My Body Is Me, but it's another thing to try and destroy her career. You know, that's like the worst thing you can do next to killing someone. So
absolutely,
yeah. So there's going to have to be some sort of reckoning, and there's going to have to be some humble pie eaten by people.
Look at the Sorry, I was going to start winding up to let you have your life back, but just but see, for me again, it's that I'm not just railing against the media here because they do a lot of stuff really well that I enjoy their output. But it's just like you Google you before this interview, and I'd seen it before, but you on Newsnight, and you never even deal with the substantive. You can't even deal with the points, you know, because you're immediately shut down with like, how could you even the temerity to compare this to the Nazi? It was just like, well, he's only making a comparison. I mean, people do make comparisons, you know.
But also, you know, the Nazis targeted autistic and gender non-conforming people among Jewish people and other minorities. So, you know, it's not that out of control to say when the amount of autistic people going for surgeries, you know, they're too highly represented. They're too highly represented, you know, and so are, you know, people who are merely gender non-conforming. So it's not like you know, that makes everybody's kind of hackles go up. But if you're not going to learn from the past, you know, then what use is it? You know,
Completely.
You know, obviously the Nazi thing is in many ways overused. But when you find something that's like, hang on a sec, this has some unfortunate ripples, you know, then, you know, you have to say them. Or
you have to. And again, like I said, it's just so fabulous that everybody's more pleased with themselves going, oh, that's the Godwin effect or something. It's like, no, there will be some point where people do things that actually are echoes of Nazi behavior. Can we not even... You know, can we not even say tidal wave? Don't say tidal wave.
Invading Poland is a huge.
Yes, that's usually their indicator, isn't it? That's
don't say anything. Don't say anything about Nazis. Just let them invade Poland. But like it's you know, I just think that we're at a very dangerous stage now where people are just angling for reasons to cancel people. You know, and I mean, isn't it funny that like every single thing now that poor old Joe Rogan says on his podcast, because everything he says becomes a news story. Joe Rogan says this, Joe Rogan says that. He's just doing a podcast, and he was lucky enough to build up a massive audience. But now his every word is treated like it's almost like the journalists are handing it to people saying, "Should we go for him for this? Is this good enough to kind of attack him for? Can we go for him for this?" No.
Well,
okay.
it's the Marshall McLuhan thing, isn't it? It's the medium is the message. It's the very fact that he's able to actually get straight through to an audience is almost that's actually affecting the message. Because I mean, as you say, he's kind of a centrist. It's not that sensational what he's saying. Frankly, he just allows an unchallenging platform, well, actually a somewhat challenging platform to anybody. He's now the exception because the other medium is the message is attempting to control the output from guests as opposed to by not selecting them.
Yeah, and it's kind of why I think some of the stuff we've been discussing about the BBC license fee is actually becoming a little bit antiquated, because I think that reality is just going to catch up with everybody anyway, whether they like it or not. Exactly. Like the internet has you know, like there's lots of great music out there, but in the sense of popular culture, the internet destroyed music as popular. It's gone. And I could never have imagined that, you know. I mean, you know, obviously, you know, people will go, oh no, what about this band and that band? But I'm talking about a kind of what would you call it? A tribalism that we've lost that used to be kind of healthy, you know. And everyone, oh, I'm a U2 fan or whatever, a Simple Minds fan or whatever you were. They're two terrible examples. I never liked Simple Minds. But anyway, but like it's you know, we're entering into all these unimaginable states, or states that would have been unimaginable to us as little as 15 years ago. And we really can't say what's next. The BBC is going to have to do something about itself. I mean, the ideological takeover is bad enough, but you know, there's also that kind of plastic diversity, which has the same color cast in every single show.
Absolutely. No, it's completely performative. It's like, look how diverse I am. It's hilarious to watch if it wasn't so tragic.
And they're all middle class. They're all middle class always. So there's not a diversity of class, but there's a diversity of colors. It's crazy. So, you know, it really is the kind of tail wagging the dog, you know, because you got to give people their own vision. I mean, Jesus Christ, look at Reservoir Dogs, you know, launched a campaign of Quentin Tarantino. changed film history forever.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of white guys, you know?
Yeah.
It's a bunch of white guys in there shouting at each other, you know? Huge hit. You got to let people have room to do whatever the hell they want. And things like diversity are definitely a factor, but they shouldn't be leading the way, you know? And I think
no, exactly. Well, it's good that we've managed to get you to apologize for ever having been left wing, but the
I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing.
You brought this on. It's like, I'm here with a mop and bucket. We're trying to clear it up. So no, what's the so what's next for you then? What's what have you got planned?
Well, I've been working on something that I can't really talk about, but it's going to be hopefully finished soon. And I you know, the thing that I would hope people are up for doing is signing up to my Substack, because at the moment that's really the only way that's really my only income. So
whatever happened with the okay, well, definitely do that. I'll put a link into it.
It's called the Glitter Update.
Okay, I've got no idea what a Substack is, but I'm in my 50s.
It's just like a blogging platform, you know, and,
gotcha.
And a lot of us are on it now who've been kind of silenced elsewhere.
Have a go at me, Jesus.
It's good. It's good. You'll like it.
What was I going to say? But yeah, whatever happened? Was there any further development with you'd found backers for the Father Ted musical? Was that is that back on or back off?
We're looking into it, but like, I mean, I'm just in this bizarre situation that I worked for something like 5 or 6 years on something that they're now sitting on, because for reasons they won't tell me. None of them will tell me what I've done wrong. So basically it's just, you're controversial. We're having your sitcom, you know? And it's like basically theft of an Irish writer's work, you know? That was supposed to be my pension, you know? And now we've got two English companies, Sonia Friedman Productions and Hat Trick Productions, trying to steal the work of 3 Irishmen, you know, 4 Irishmen actually. And it's outrageous. But
it is outrageous.
The longer it goes on, the stupider they'll look. So, you know, we'll see what happens.
I can't thank you enough for coming on today. Honestly, I'd love to get you back if you can bear it at any other future time. If you can ever tell us what that final bit of news was that you're holding out on us.
Yeah. I will. You'll be the first to know. You'll be the first to know. Second.
I don't believe second or third, I think, probably. All right. Thank you very much, Graham Linehan. What a hero. Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely to talk to you.